So hello everyone. I see we have lots of people in already. That's exciting. I recognize loads of names as well. So it's great to see so many of you back, and it's really lovely to see some new names there as well. Let me introduce myself. My name is Mairead. Because this is a pronunciation class, I'm going to give you a tip. My name rhymes with parade. So imagine saying parade with an M, and that's my name. I am in Ireland. I'm from Ireland, and I'm currently living back in Ireland now. And this is my 20th year teaching. So that's a nice anniversary to have, I feel. So during those 20 years, I've had the chance to do lots and lots of traveling, lots of working abroad. I've got to meet my wonderful students of all nationalities, ages, abilities. It's been really great, and I'm really excited for you all that you get to start the exciting journey as well as an EFL teacher. So hello to South Africa, to Canada, to the USA, and from the UK, our neighbours. And yeah, really great to see you all. So everyone, we're going to get started because we have lots to cover today. We're going to be speaking about teaching pronunciation. So if you have any questions about what I'm saying, make sure you write down that question. So by the time the Q&As come around, you'll be ready to put it into the chat box and for us to discuss it. All right, so without further ado, let's go. So when we talk about teaching pronunciation, this covers a huge variety of areas, okay? So teaching pronunciation involves working on individual sounds. It includes syllable identification. It also includes word and sentence stress. We'll explain those later if you're not clear. It includes teaching intonation, and it involves looking quite closely at connected speech. All right, so those would be the main areas we mean when we talk about teaching pronunciation. Later on in the webinar, we're going to go through all of these things. So again, don't worry if you don't recognize the terms yet. Hopefully you will by the end. Why do we teach pronunciation? Well, this is a really important question. Okay, what is the goal? I think, and a lot of the pronunciation experts in the world of academia would agree, that the aim of teaching pronunciation to our students is comfortable intelligibility. Now, that sounds like a very fancy term. It is a very fancy term, but basically, we just want our students to be understood without any major strain to the listener. Okay. Complete accent reduction, or like complete pronunciation perfection for our students, is not the aim. Okay, because I think that would be a pretty unrealistic aim. Okay, so we're not aiming to drill their accent out of them by any means. We're aiming just for them to be comfortably understood. The goal of teaching pronunciation is also to familiarize students with key features of common accents. Yeah, because students need to understand these features in order to improve their listening too. Okay, but again, not necessarily to emulate them. Okay, again, we don't want them to erase their own accent completely. Okay, but we want them to be familiar with features of common accents. Okay, I know it sounds strange maybe talking about listening when pronunciation is related to speaking, but by teaching our students pronunciation, we improve their ability to identify features when they're listening to someone speaking English. Okay, so, it all ties in. All right. So remember that list we saw at the beginning? Let's start going through the major areas of pronunciation that we will more than likely teach. Let's start at the most basic unit, okay, the individual sound. This is also called a phoneme, Okay, like the smallest unit of sound is a phoneme. So every nationality will have their own problem sounds. Okay, even Irish people. Okay, with our t and th. Okay, we will all have the issues no matter where we're from. Here are some common examples. Arabic students often struggle with the difference between p and b. Okay, Spanish speakers can often struggle with b and v. Japanese students can sometimes, well, quite often struggle with r and l, etc. Okay, so if you are going to be teaching like a monolingual group, for example, a class of all Japanese students or a class of all Spanish students, do your research, okay? Know the potential issues and be prepared to tackle them. So if you know in advance that your Arabic students, for example, may well struggle with p and b, do your homework, okay? Be aware of the difference between those sounds. Be ready to give lots of examples and explanations. Yeah. And, have some tasks up your sleeve that will help the students practice. So, we're getting out ahead of the issue, if you know what I mean. A wonderful book for this is a book by, I believe it's Michael Swan, and it's called Learner English. Learner English is amazing because it has like 30 or 40 chapters broken down by native language, okay? And it tells you what potential issues a student of a particular native language may have with English pronunciation, okay? So yeah, Learner English by Michael Swan. It's an amazing book. Okay, so when it comes to teaching individual sounds then, you may or may not be familiar with the IPA, or the International Phonetic Alphabet. I know if you've studied Unit 3 in the course, you will be more than familiar with it. If you haven't got there yet, not to worry, okay? But the IPA, the International Phonetic Alphabet, is basically a chart of all of the sounds in the English language. There are 44 of them, okay? And all of them are identified by a particular symbol, okay? If you look up a word in the dictionary, you'll often see like this strange writing in slanted brackets beside the word. Some of them look like English letters, some of them look like Greek letters. It can all look a little bit unfamiliar. Well, that is the IPA, okay? So it's the phonetic representation of a word. So a lot of new teachers are kind of scared of the IPA chart, okay, when they see all of those symbols. And in fairness, it can look a little intimidating at first, okay? But there are many reasons why we should be familiar with it. Mainly, our students might be familiar with it, okay? So we must be too, all right? If our students know it and ask us questions about it, we should be able to know what they're talking about. Okay. Notice there, everyone, I say be familiar with, okay? Nobody is suggesting that you need to go and learn it by heart, okay? You absolutely do not. You just need to be aware of it and to have a basic understanding of how it works. The IPA is amazing. Use it to identify and target specific sounds. So again, if you're in that class with Arabic students, for example, and they're having problems with their p and their b, get them used to looking at the symbols so that when they see the symbols, it'll make them think, okay, what's the one I need to use? Okay, it'll also help them realize that they are two different sounds. Okay, once they're familiar with the symbols, you can prompt them to self-correct with their pronunciation. If they say a b instead of a p, all you need to do, write the symbol on the board and it'll make them think, oh, let me go back and try that again. Okay, so you don't need to go transcribing entire words, entire sentences or anything like it. Just using the individual phonemes or symbols will be super, super helpful when it comes to guiding your students' pronunciation. All right, so once we've looked at our individual sounds, I guess the next jump up would be to syllables. Okay. So again, this is something that teachers, both experienced and inexperienced, have problems with at times. How do you identify how many syllables are in a word? Well, you will find some rules for this. As always, though, in English, there are far more exceptions than rules, I generally find. But as a pretty reliable-ish rule, we could say that there is mainly one vowel or a Y per syllable. Okay, so count up your vowels and your Ys, okay, in the word, and there will typically be one vowel per syllable or Y. Okay, it's by no means a fail-safe rule, but it can help us sometimes. Another thing you can do to identify syllables is to put your hand under your chin. Okay, so put it right there, like lightly touching your chin. Okay, then you're going to say the word that you're trying to figure out the number of syllables in. Okay, say the word like slowly and clearly and count how many times does your chin touch your hand. Okay, so let's do an example word of university. So put it under, lightly touching, and say the word. Okay, U-N-I-V-E-R-S-I-T. U-N-I-V-E-R-S-I-T. Okay, I don't know about you, but I have counted 5 syllables. Okay, I had 5 little bits of pressure. So again, that can work. Count the number of times your chin presses on your hand. Again, maybe not entirely foolproof, but it can be a good guideline to help us decipher syllables. Does university work with our one vowel per syllable rule? So we have U, I, E, I, Y. Yeah, it does. Awesome. Okay, so university is a good example then for both of those rules. Some things I do all the time when I'm trying to figure out how many syllables are in a word, I hum the word. Okay. So let's go with university again. I might go Okay. So again, I'm not saying the sounds, I'm just putting in a Okay. Again, we can hear our 5 separate hums. All right. This works well because your brain stops focusing on the individual sounds and just focuses more on the rhythm. Okay. Another thing you can do is like tap your fingers on the table. Okay, it's like da, 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 da. Okay, you can't see my table. it's out of shot, but okay, let's try it on the book. So I might go da, 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 da. Okay, da, 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 da. Okay. So, whatever it takes, hum, use your fingers, hand under the chin, count the vowels. Okay, there are a couple of ways that we can identify how many syllables are in a word. Okay. Also, there's a really good website. I have it at the end of this slide. It's www.howmanysyllables.com. So once you've tried all of your methods, okay, then you want to maybe double check. So you can go to this website and see, okay, howmanysyllables.com. Put in your word and it will tell you. I have to say though, everyone, try to work it out yourself. You've got to try and build that habit, all right? So don't go straight to the website. Just use the website for maybe verification, all right? So once you've identified syllables, how many syllables are in a word, the next thing you've got to do is focus on word stress. All right. Now, if a word only has one syllable, there is no stress. It is what it is. But if you have a word longer than one syllable, the chances are that one syllable will be stronger than the other or than the others. Okay, so you'll have to pick out that dominant syllable. Again, there are a couple of ways that you can figure out what the dominant syllable is. You can say the word aloud several times. Yeah. You can say it naturally in a sentence. Even better, you can get somebody else to say it aloud and to say it in a sentence. And just listen for that stressed syllable. Okay. I might say, for example, phonetics. Yeah, phonetics. I love studying phonetics. Now, I don't know about you, but I can hear it very, very clearly on the second syllable. So phonetics. Okay, the net is like jumping out. All right. Another way you can check this is by looking in the dictionary. Remember, we said that when you look up a word, there's generally the phonetic script beside it in the slanted brackets. The stress syllable is after the apostrophe-like symbol in dictionary transcriptions. All right. So I have it written out here. Let's see if I can line it up with the camera. So this is the word phonetics, written in phonetic script. And you can see that the apostrophe is right before the net. This lets us know that net is going to be stressed. So it's phonetics. Okay. So use those dictionary transcriptions. They're super, super helpful. The stress syllable will always be the one after the apostrophe. Okay, good. So I figured that out way too late in life. So hopefully that tip will help all of you as you're starting out on your teaching journey. And yeah, as I said, use the website, howmanysyllables.com, just to double check. But again, I emphasize, try to work it out yourself first. Okay. So you'll find that when you're teaching vocabulary, you will be doing a lot of this work. Okay. Like every word that you aim to teach, you will be working out in advance how many syllables and where is the stress syllable. Okay. You need to know that so that when it comes to teaching your students, you'll be able to tell them. So listen, university, how many syllables? University. Hopefully your students will tell you 5. And you can say with confidence, yes, it is 5. Okay. Then you'll ask them, so listen again, which syllable is strong? Yeah. Where is the stress? University. Yeah. University. I went to university in 1999. That long ago. Gosh. So university. And hopefully your students will be able to tell you, the third syllable, ver. Yeah, that's the strong one. And again, with confidence, you'll be able to say, yes, it is. Okay, the third one is strong. Okay, so, that's why it's important for you to do all of this work in advance. Yeah, so that, you can teach pronunciation of words with confidence. All right, nice. So once you've figured out your individual sounds, your syllables, and your word stress, next, the jump up would be to sentence stress. This time we're looking at entire sentences, and we're figuring out what words in the sentence are said more strongly than others. Okay, what words are we emphasizing? So we typically stress certain words in a sentence. Okay, English is not a monotone language. Okay, there's lots of up and down, yeah, stressed, unstressed, etc. Think about this sentence, for example. She went to town for dinner. Okay, she went to town for dinner. You can see that went, town, dinner. Okay, they're emphasized. We say them more strongly. She went to town for dinner. Okay, so the rule here, everyone, is that we typically, I should have put in the word typically here because, there is no real absolute in the English language. So we typically stress content words. What are content words? Well, they're the words that carry meaning, such as our verbs, our nouns, etc. Okay. We don't typically stress the function words. Yeah, they're all of like the smaller words like subjects, articles, prepositions, etc. Okay, we tend to give all of the importance to our verbs, nouns, content words. All right. So when you're practicing pronunciation with your students, yeah, and you've taught them maybe an individual word, put that word then in a sentence. Okay, put it in a full sentence, like put it in context, and then you can practice like saying that word in a sentence, and teaching them the correct sentence stress. Okay, the correct rhythm. All right. There's lots of listen, repeat goes on in a pronunciation lesson or in the pronunciation segment of a lesson. Okay. So another thing that you will find yourself teaching when it comes to pronunciation is intonation. Now, intonation, I know when I started teaching, it was a complete mystery to me. I had no idea. So I understand if intonation boggles your mind a little. Okay, it's normal that it does. Those of us who grow up with English as our first language, it's just something we do so naturally, we don't even think about it. We never give it a second thought. Okay, so making the shift to actively thinking about it, can be a bit of a head melt at times. So don't worry, it'll come. So let's look at teaching intonation. So we have rules, everyone. That's the exciting thing. We do have like legitimate rules when it comes to pronunciation. First of all, intonation here refers to how our voice goes up and down. Okay. Our intonation will normally fall at the end of a positive or negative sentence. Okay. For example, I saw him yesterday. We go yesterday. Yeah. I saw him yesterday. I didn't see him yesterday. Okay, it's going down. Typically, our intonation will rise at the end of a yes/no question. Yeah, so that's a question that we would answer with yes or no. For example, did you see him? Yeah, did you see him? Yeah, going him. Okay. Intonation will typically fall at the end of a WH question. Yeah. So, what did you do? Yeah, what did you do? What did he say? When did he go? Yeah. So they would be like some of the rules of intonation. Okay. They're really important to know. So I advise that you write this down or you take a screenshot or you go back and watch the video once it goes on YouTube. These rules of intonation will help you greatly. Why is intonation important? Well, it's what gives color to the language. It's what gives rhythm. Okay, we use it to express surprise. Oh gosh, I'm missing an R. Apologies. Not surprise. Interest, boredom, etc. Okay. The best thing we can do for our students is to speak naturally in class. Okay, we've got to model correct intonation. Okay, don't be tempted to like flatten out your voice, making it monotone, thinking that makes it easier to understand. Okay, it doesn't. Speak naturally, keep the rhythm. I mean, okay, we might speak more slowly, yeah, but we've still got to maintain that intonation so that our students are aware of it, so that they understand it, and so that in time, hopefully, they will start to use the correct pattern too. Okay. Another potentially complex area that you'll discover when teaching pronunciation is connected speech. Now, connected speech refers to when we speak naturally or quickly, the way that our words all kind of run together. Okay. My students were always telling me, oh, teacher, English people or Irish people or, insert country here, English speakers speak so quickly, okay? It all just sounds like one big long flow and I can't keep up, okay? That's like the number one most common complaint of students everywhere, okay? They say, oh, English just sounds so fast. It's not really fast. It's just that we tend to link everything together. Yeah, all of our words kind of flow into one. Some sounds disappear altogether. Other sounds merge. Other sounds change the next sound. Yeah. Let's look at some examples. If I'm saying this word, an apple, yeah, an apple, what's happening? It sounds like I'm saying a napple. Yeah. So the vowel or the N here, it kind of joins the next word. Yeah, an apple, an orange. Okay. Let's look at another example. Salt and vinegar. Yeah, salt and vinegar. What's the and? It's reduced to n. Yeah, salt and vinegar. So the A and the D have just like basically disappeared. Okay, salt and vinegar. Fish and chips, the same. Okay. What if I'm saying this word or these two words? Want to. Yeah, I want to. I'm not saying want to. Yeah. One of the T's is disappearing. I want to. Okay. So I want to. And the students are like, what's one? Yeah, I don't understand, teacher. What's the meaning of one? And it's like, no, not one, want to. But saying it super quickly, want to. Okay. And of course, if you're speaking quite informally, you might even say wanna. Okay, I wanna go. In which case, all of the T's disappear. Okay. So these are some examples of connected speech. When we're speaking really quickly, sometimes it just happens. Okay, we don't even know it's happening, but it is. It's important to know, everyone, that this is not slang. Okay, it's, well, wanna is a little bit, but connected speech is not only reserved for slang. Okay, it's not incorrect. Okay, I know some of you might be thinking like, oh no, my students, I will never teach them to speak like that. Okay, I'm going to teach them to speak correctly. Okay, and why not? That's okay. Okay, but connected speech is correct. Okay, we do it without even thinking. And actually, we would be doing a disservice to our students if we didn't make them aware of it. Again, not because we necessarily want them to emulate it, but we need them to understand it when they're listening to somebody else speaking English. Okay. If we don't tell them, for example, that the and in salt and vinegar disappears, if they hear somebody saying on the telly, maybe, I want salt and vinegar, maybe they won't understand. They'll be like, salt and vinegar? What's that? Okay. So we've got to raise awareness of connected speech, whether we want them to use it or not. Okay. So yeah, just to emphasize the point, I even have this on its own slide. It's really important to familiarize students with connected speech, not necessarily so that they use it, but so that they recognize it when listening. All right. So it's interesting, isn't it? As we said at the beginning, even though pronunciation is associated with speaking, it's really actually very important for listening too. All right. Now, I know we've looked at a lot of aspects of pronunciation there. Bear in mind, though, you won't be teaching them all at once. Okay, don't worry. You won't be doing everything all the time. Okay, but these are the main areas that you will find yourself touching on at various different stages. All right. So when it comes to tips for teaching pronunciation, the top tip would be model and drill. So model and drill, model and drill, model and drill. Okay, you say the word, you model it, and then you drill it. Okay, you make the students repeat it again and again. Okay. when it comes to modeling a new word, say it twice or 3 times. Okay, once often isn't enough for students to get their head around it. So I might say, okay, everybody listen, computer. Okay, listen again, computer. Okay, one more time, computer. Now you say it. Okay, so make sure you give them sufficient modeling of the word said clearly before you get them to repeat. Okay. I would also say try to expose students to as many different accents and contexts as you can. Okay. In textbooks, I find that it's like overwhelmingly British English, like this Queen's English, that in reality not very many people speak. Okay. So if your textbook is leaning heavily towards one accent, it's up to you to bring in more stuff. Okay, get them to hear what an Irish accent is like, a Welsh accent, a Scottish accent, an Australian accent, okay, a New Zealand accent, okay, someone from the USA, someone from Canada, someone from India, okay. And bear in mind, it doesn't always need to be from an English-speaking country either, There's no rule that says they can only listen to people who have grown up with English as their first language, okay. Bring in as many different accents and contexts as you can. Okay, give your students variety. Okay, or else, they're only going to be able to understand maybe your accent or, the accent that is modeled in the textbook. And we don't want that. That would be doing them a great disservice. Okay, more tips here. As I said before, try to speak at a natural pace with your students. Avoid robotic, monotone, or overly slow delivery. Okay, we need, okay, we can slow it down for sure, yeah, but not ridiculously so. Okay, we're not doing them any favors by erasing these features. Try to work explicitly on syllables, stress, and connected speech through modeling, drilling, and identification exercises. Okay, so when you're teaching them new words, ask them how many syllables, yeah, where's the stress? Okay, listen to how I read the sentence really quickly. What's happening to the words? Yeah, get them into the habit of focusing on pronunciation this way. You can also do lots of really fun identification exercises. You can maybe say, okay, I'm going to say a sentence quite quickly at natural pace, and you are going to write down what you think you hear. Okay, so a nice dictation exercise. Or you might give them a load of words that you've studied in the past and say, now I want you to categorize these words into the 2-syllable words, 3-syllable words, 4-syllable words. Okay, there's lots of fun things you can do like that. There's an amazing website called www.hancockmacdonald.com. They have such fun pronunciation activities. I'm going to put it in the chat box. But basically, Mark Hancock is a bit of a legend in the pronunciation world when it comes to EFL. So he has a website with tons of activities, not just for pronunciation, but for loads of aspects of EFL. So www.hancock, so HANCOCK, Macdonald, so MCDONALD.com. All right. And yeah, basically just have fun with it. Okay, pronunciation's amazing. It's like legitimately right up there with grammar as my favorite things to teach. Okay, it's a lot of fun. It's not that scary once you get into it. Okay, you just need to make that initial push, and I am sure you will soon become big fans of teaching pronunciation. All right. So just a reminder that you can view all previous webinars on the TEFL Academy YouTube channel. Yeah, so in this Q&A, we're just going to deal with your questions regarding teaching pronunciation, but if you have questions about any other area, go check out our YouTube channel, and we've probably done a webinar on it for you to watch. All right, great. So there we go, everyone. That is my whistle-stop tour of teaching pronunciation. Now it is up to you to give me all of your questions. Okay, we have loads of time left, so everything you've wanted to know about pronunciation, pop it in the chat. In the meantime, I'm going to go back and look just in case there have been some questions submitted already. But otherwise, yeah, type them in the chat box and we'll take a look. Okay. Medicine Hat Canada. Oh, Geraldine, that's an amazing name. I love that. Medicine Hat. Wow. All right. So, hi, Sufyan. Good to see you again. Let's take a look at your question. How would you overcome a personal pronunciation barrier? For example, if you have a lisp and are attempting to teach students but struggle with words including or beginning with S or R. Yeah, Sufyan, this can happen. Basically, do your best with it. Okay. In this case, I would, model it as best I can. And I would probably bring in some outside examples of that word, like if you can hear it said in a video or somewhere else, okay, just to back up your own pronunciation. If you feel that your pronunciation of the word will, lead them down a path that they won't be understood saying that word, tell them, okay, guys, I want you to listen to this word on the video, okay? So that, you're supporting your own pronunciation teaching with other examples of the sound, okay? And this is linked to your next question, and the same for teaching students with speech impairments. Yeah, they can do what they can do, Sufyan. You can, do your best, okay? But at the same time, they're able to do what they're able to do. So if you feel that, they're giving it their best effort, well, then that's the best they can do, okay? So, there's no pressure. We don't want to go on and on and on if that is genuinely the best they can do, okay? We are very, very accepting of effort. Okay, thank you, Sufyan. Okay, so hello, Perline. Oh, what a beautiful name. You're there, you just started your course. Oh, well, welcome to the deep end of pronunciation. All right, awesome. Okay, so here we have a question. So hello, T. I'm going to call you T. I struggle a lot with the circle, circle, circle thing and how it's used on word stress. Oh yeah, so T, this is the whole little circle, big circle thing is a super useful way of addressing pronunciation with our students. I do it all the time. Remember, I'm going to take out my notebook. We'll write down a quick example. Remember before we talked about the word university. And I'm just going to write it here. So we saw our word university. And we decided, right, that it had 5 syllables. Okay, and that the third syllable was the stress. Okay, so I might ask my students, so how many syllables have we got? 5. Good. Where's the stress? The third one. Okay, so then on the board, I would have my word and I would do small circles for the normal syllables that aren't stressed, and then like a big, big circle on the stress word. Okay, so we would be left with something like university. Okay, da 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 da. All right. The same before we saw the word phonetics, right? Let's take a look at that. So we said that phonetics would have 3 syllables and the stress would be on the second. So we might end up with something like phonetics. So we might end up with something like this. Okay. So I would always get my students to do the hard work of figuring out the syllables and the stress, and then it's just a matter of you coming along and, you know, representing it visually like that. You've got to do that as well in the in one of the assignments, right? So work out your number of syllables, find the stress using the tips we saw earlier, and then just put a small syllable or a small circle for the unstressed syllables and a big circle for the stressed ones. All right. Good question, T. Thank you. So, hey, Greca. Are you Greek, Greca? Greca is Spanish for Greek. That's interesting. Hi, dear. Just to confirm your name's pronunciation first, is it Mairead? Yeah, you got it. Parade with an M. Okay. I spell it a little bit differently because, you know, Irish names. The spelling is always a bit crazy. There's always tons of vowels. But yeah, absolutely, that's the pronunciation. All right, thank you, Greca. So hi, Natalia. Good to see you. What is the recommended best dictionary to guide for pronunciation and understanding word stress? Well, I would say the one that I use all the time is macmillandictionary.com. Okay, I use the online one. It doesn't do anything particularly special in terms of word stress, but you know, it will give you the word nice and clearly in phonetic script, and then all you have to do is look for that little pronunciation or that little apostrophe symbol, and you know that the symbol after the apostrophe is the one that's stressed. Okay, so yeah, I'm a big fan of macmillandictionary.com for that, but in theory any dictionary will do that. Okay, I just like the look of the Macmillan one. All right, thank you, Natalia. All right. So hi, Geraldine. Let's look, other than correcting their mistakes, when and how would you teach pronunciation with an advanced class C1, C2? Would you even need to? Oh yeah, for sure, Geraldine. Yeah, we always need to. You know, I would still always do the, you know, how many syllables, where's the stress? You know, get them to work it out. I might ease off a little bit on the modeling drilling. Yeah, you know, I wouldn't do so many repetitions and get them to do so many repetitions typically, unless it's a really new, difficult word. But yeah, it's always worth addressing. You'll find, Geraldine, with the more advanced students, you'll be able to do a lot more work on intonation and especially connected speech. Okay, you'll be going like a lot deeper into the whole connected speech thing. You know, where one sound changes another, where sounds merge together, where things aren't pronounced at all. Yeah, you'll be teaching like intrusive sounds. Yeah, there's always something to be addressed, okay, at any level, no matter how good the student is. All right, thank you, Geraldine. I would say too, all of the modern textbooks, you know, they have, you know, they're all giving amazing attention to pronunciation. So if you can get your hands on an advanced or on a C1 or C2 level textbook, for example, you know, look at the type of thing they're addressing. Yeah, and that'll let you know the type of thing you ought to be doing with your students. All right, so thank you, Geraldine, good question. So hello, Nishi, good to see you. If the students are not familiar, should we teach them the IPA chart? Well, Nishi, I don't think we would ever say, okay, here are 44 sounds, let's learn them. Okay, you know, we wouldn't do it that way because it's too overwhelming for them and for us. Okay, but as I said, what we can do is just like introduce individual symbols, okay, for the individual sounds that you're either working on in that class or that they have problems with. Okay, so, you know, we're not just using it for the sake of it, we're using it to isolate problem sounds, and we're taking symbols accordingly. if you want, I guess you could do some classes like dictionary skills. You could go through all of the sounds and then get them to identify words written in phonetic script. You could start with the really short, like 3-letter words. But personally, I would just keep it. I'd just use individual sounds to target teaching to the issues they have. It could well be that they want to learn it themselves, Nishi. You never know. And if they do, that can absolutely be encouraged. All right, great. Thank you, Nishi. So, Greg, just to verify, does the number of circle syllable word stress correspond to the number of syllables? Yeah, absolutely. Okay. So as we said, the small circle will just be an unstressed syllable. The big circle will be a stressed one. Okay. For example, if you are teaching the word garden, okay, garden, let's write it down. You would first of all ask yourself, so how many syllables in garden? Well, I'm hearing 2. Which is the strong one? Garden. I'm hearing the first one, right? So you would then represent it just with there we go, just with big, small. Okay. So yeah, total number of circles will be total number of syllables. All right. Thank you, Greg. Always good to confirm these things. Okay. Let's see. So, hello, Kate. Good to see you again. I missed the first few minutes. When do you introduce the IP8? Or it just seems like teaching 2 new languages at once. Yeah, totally. It genuinely does. So as I just said to Nishi, I would just kind of use symbols on a need to know basis. I wouldn't just teach them the whole chart because it's too much. But I might say, okay, today we're looking at the sounds s and sh. Okay, and I would just use the symbols for those 2 sounds. And over time, you and the students, will build up their repertoire of symbols. All right, thank you, Kate. Okay. So hello, Nasmira. How to do set 3 speed sounds. Ooh, okay. Can you clarify this, Nasmira? I'm not sure I understand the question, I'm afraid. So can you clarify what you mean in the chat? And I'll work my way down and we'll see if we can get to the bottom of it. Okay, thank you, Nasmira. Okay, so hello, Emma. Good to see you. What about words which contain 3 or more syllables where chemical reactions happen? Gotcha. Should we stick to clean speech with some grades or natural with all? Okay, Emma, I'm not sure I fully understand your question, but if you mean what I think you mean, I would model the word, like correctly, for want of a better word. Yeah, and then I would say, but you'll probably hear it like this. Yeah, or I say it like this. Okay, so you're teaching them the technically correct word. Then you're saying, but you'll probably hear it as whatever. Okay. Let me see if I can think of an example off the top of my head. I can't think of a 3 or more syllable word. But for example, if you're asking the question like, what are you doing? Okay, what are you doing? So what are you doing? What are you doing? But you might hear it as what you doing? Yeah, what you doing? Okay, if somebody is speaking to you really quickly, oh, what you doing? Okay, so you're modeling it correctly and then you're telling them, but you might also hear it like this. That way we're covering our bases somewhat. All right. Thank you, Emma. Okay, so hello, Mena. Good to see you again. What is an intensive listening activity or a pronunciation task? How to design it as a follow-up activity for a listening text or lesson? Yeah, Minna, pronunciation can be a really nice follow-up task, especially when it comes to connected speech or sentence stress. So you could pull out maybe 2 or 3 interesting sentences from the listening, okay? And you could get your students to analyze, okay? Like you could get them to say, now listen again to these 3 sentences, and I want you to, to underline the emphasized words in the sentence, okay? Or you could say, now I want you to listen to these 3 sentences again. There are some really great examples of connected speech there. Yeah, so listen to the 3 sentences and write down what you hear. Okay. They could both be some nice tasks for making students focus, okay, on either sentence stress or connected speech. You could also do it with intonation. Yeah, you could give them like a transcript of what they've listened to, and at the end of each sentence, they need to like do an arrow, like is it going up, is it going down, or is it staying flat? Okay, it probably won't stay flat. There'll be a slight up or a slight down. So yeah, lots we can do, Minna, as an intensive listening activity. All right, thank you. Okay. Okay. So Emma. Oh, I did understand you. Oh, excellent. I'm glad. No problem at all. Okay, thank you, Emma. All right. So that seems to be it. Okay. Oh, Nazmira. When it comes to when it comes to teaching speech sounds and phonics. Again, Nazmira, I'm just not familiar with the term speech sounds, I'm afraid. Do you mean perhaps like when 2 words are together, like ch or je? If you give me an example in the chat of what you mean by speed sound, again, I'll try to get to the bottom of it. I'm sorry, I'm being a bit slow on the uptake, Nasmira. So while I'm waiting for your clarification, let me go back and see, have I missed anything? Okay. Oh yeah, Sufyan, that was a good question. No, you're not obliged to watch the webinars, not at all. Okay, the webinars are just something extra. Okay, something bonus. Nothing bad will happen if you don't watch them. Okay, obviously you should, because they'll be really helpful. But I do know it's probably confusing if you've just started the course and we're talking about things you haven't studied yet. So yeah, but no, the webinars are not obligatory, but I hope they're helpful. All right, let's take a look. Okay. So, Sarah, speed sounds are used in phonic teaching for primary school children. Okay, so that's why I'm not familiar with it. You know, I'm not really involved in teaching in primary schools. You know, I'm just with the students from other countries. But, you know, give me some examples and I'll see what I can do. Okay. All right, are there any more questions coming in? So Helen, yeah, everything will be in the modules for sure. Okay, so for example, maybe you haven't come to module 3 yet, or unit 3 yet on pronunciation, so none of this makes much sense to you. But when you do study the pronunciation module, you'll be able to go back and watch this again, and it will be, you know, it will hopefully make a lot more sense. All right, awesome. So hi, Ruby. Beautiful name, Ruby. Hi there. Can I please have the correct spelling of the online dictionary you mentioned earlier? Yeah, sure. So I'll put it in the chat box. It is www.macmillan, so MCMILLAN, Macmillan Dictionary .com. Okay. So of course, now I'm starting to doubt myself. Is it a .com or is it a .org? I always have this brain block. Let me just double check on my phone because I don't want to send you to the wrong place. In the dictionary. Yeah, it's a .com. And oh, actually, I forgot the A. So it's not Mac like MC, it's Mac like MAC. So www.macmillan dictionary.com. Pop in the chat box correctly. All right. All right. So Nasmira, phonics. Okay. Yes. Right. I got you. Like diphthongs, like two letters together. Well, Nasmira, we wouldn't really do anything differently for that. You know, we would just again model, drill, listen, repeat. Then another thing you can do that I do quite often with problem sounds like that, I'll, prepare lots of little flashcards with the problem sound written on it. I'll give every student a set. Then I'll say a word and they need to hold up the flashcard of the sound that I've just done or that I've just made. I think it's really important that, first of all, they can identify the sound, before we expect them to make it. So you can do like loads of fun activities like that, like what sound did I say in this word? Hold it up, okay? Or if you wanted to turn it into a fun game, you could put like flashcards with, each one with a different phonic written on it, a different sound on it. And again, you say the word, all of the kids stand around the table and they have to be the first to find the sound and grab it and maybe repeat it. Okay. So yeah, lots of identification activities before you then start expecting them to use it. I would also say try not to spend too long on the individual sound. Once they have it, start building it into words. Okay. That would be my tip. Build it into a word, build it into a sentence. Don't let them dwell too long on the individual, because then they might have problems like incorporating it into the correct or into an already existing word. Okay, so I hope that helped, Nasmira. We got there eventually. I knew we would. Thank you so much for your question. Okay. So let's see, what else have we got? We only have 2 more minutes, so I want to make sure I haven't missed anything. So hello, Fran. Can you say a little more about how someone learning English might find it with their mouth, to get around the sounds? Do you mean, Fran, that they could have difficulty with it? Yeah, I agree. They do, especially if it's a language that isn't related to English. Okay. A lot of, for example, the Western European countries find it easier because, we're all coming from Latin or French, or, we have some common root. So, generally they can relate sounds they already have in their language to sounds we have in English. They may not be exact matches, but they'll be similar. Whereas, for example, a student from Asia might not be familiar with some of the sounds at all. Yeah, maybe the sounds we have in English won't even exist. So yeah, practice. Okay. Lots of repetition, lots of modeling, lots of drilling. Okay. And again, just once you've focused on the individual sounds, get them into words. All right. Okay, but yeah, it's definitely hard, Fran, for sure. All right. So, hey, Kathy, always a pleasure. You're so welcome. Thank you for coming along. It's a really, yeah, I love pronunciation. It's such a fun topic. All right, so I think everyone, we are out of time. Thank you all so much for your thank yous. Okay, same to you all. It's wonderful to see you. I hope it's been useful and that you will lose your fear somewhat of teaching pronunciation. After a few days, this session will go up on our YouTube channel, so it'll be there for whenever you need it, and you can go back and pick up on all of the different tips. As always, though, before you go, I would love you to take a moment to fill in our end of webinar. So I would love you to fill in our end of webinar survey just to help us to keep developing our offerings of webinars in the future. All right, so let's leave it there, everyone. I hope you have a wonderful rest of Saturday and rest of weekend. And I really hope that I'll see you all again soon. All right, take care. Bye.